Okay, hello everyone. So thank you for inviting me. So thanks to the organizer, sorry, and thanks to you for being here. So I will present my paper, StockTwits Sentiment Classification and Stock Return. So this is a joint work with Damir Filipovic. And the idea is to analyze predictive power of social media for stock markets. So we start by collecting and classifying 90 million messages from StockTwits during a little bit more than 10 years. And then we build firm-specific daily sentiment time series, which we call Polarity. And then we test predictive power of Polarity on stock returns. We do this in general and around specific events, and you will see what is the difference between the two. Okay, so messages that we face are the following. So users on this platform are usually finance professionals, and they can talk about any firm, and they just have to tag the ticker. So you see here they tag Apple and SPY, and they have the possibility to label the tweets as bullish or bearish, or they can also leave it unlabeled. So what we will do is we will classify the unlabeled tweets with the labeled tweets. Okay, so there is actually a vast majority of tweets that is unlabeled. Okay, so to do so, we use two binary classifications. So the first one we classify tweets as non-bullish or bullish, and the second one we classify tweets as bearish or non-bearish. And when they agree, then we get our label. And when they disagree, then we treat this message as neutral. Okay, you can see it also as undefined. Okay, so this allows us to create an artificial neutral class which absorbs all the tweets that do not convey real financial information. Okay, so once we do this I will just skip. Okay, so once we do this classification, we will compute this polarity. So for every day and for every firm, we just count the number of bullish and the number of bearish tweets that there is on this day, and we just compute a ratio between the two. And we do the same for the market polarity, so we just compute a weighted average. Okay, so now we can go to the next part, which is the prediction. So we start with very naive things. We just do simple regressions at the first, and we see that polarity is positively associated with contemporaneous returns. But this does not hold against next day returns. So we are not able yet to predict next day returns. And okay, so this is something we could expect. It's quite hard to predict returns. So of course this wouldn't work, but this was just a test. Okay, so now the story is very much different if we look at some specific periods in time. So now if we look at this graph, so this is the daily volume of messages for Apple, you see that there are some peaks. So on some days, people, they go crazy about the firm and they talk a lot about it. So we actually can capture these events, and we test and we verify that this actually corresponds to real world events. So they start to tweet about things when things happen. So we can easily identify those events, and we can also easily tag a label for those events. So it is either bullish, bearish, or neutral. We just look at the polarity of that firm of that day. So we collect all those events. We have a little bit more than 1,000 events, and then we can, again, do some event studies now. So this is what we want to do. We want to now look at how returns and how polarities, they behave around those events. So we do these event studies. So 0 is the day of the events. And you see that for the returns first, the returns are flat before the event, and then it jumps exactly on the day of the event, and then it stays flat again. So this is exactly consistent with the theory that we have in finance, which is efficient market hypothesis, which tells that all new information should be instantaneously priced into the market. So this is exactly what we see. So there is an information at event 0, and then boom, the return jumps. So now the story is completely different if we look at the polarities. So first, you see that after the events, the polarities continue to shift. So this means that users, they tend to be biased toward recent past events. So if there is some event, it is very likely that you will continue to tweet about it. So this is what we see here. But the most remarkable result that we have is that the polarities already start to shift several days before the events. So it means that people, on average, they are able to predict what will be the type of the event. And that's very useful for us. Okay, so if I wrap up everything, so we have extracted the daily sentiment measure, which we call polarity, and we saw that it has no significant predictive power on next day returns. However, if we look at some specific firm events, then the polarity has some predictive power on the type of the event, and we saw that returns has not. So one application of this could be that if you know that there is some event happening, so for instance, you know that there will be an earning announcement soon, then you can look at the social media and you can look at this polarity, and you should have on average the correct type of the event. Okay, so I think I'm out of time anyway, so yeah, so I'm happy if you have some questions.
Great, thank you very much, Mark.
Yeah.
Let's take some questions. We have a question here. Yeah, go ahead, Fabrizio.
Yeah, do you control for the use of bots? Because I made a study some years ago, and we found that a lot of these peaks were driven by bots, identified by. Do you check for that?
Yeah, we checked for bots, and actually, so the vast majority of these bots, they just publish news. So they just track whatever news, and they put it on this website. So usually this has some information, because if it tracks the news, then it's good for us. And if it has no information, so for instance, if it's a news about something completely off finance, then the classifier will not classify either as bullish or bearish here. So it will go in the neutral class, and then if it goes on the neutral class, then it is not counted here. So it will just disappear, so it will not be counted.
Okay. And sorry, last question. How do you know that the tweet is talking about the news and it's not talking about the price? Because this is you don't know if they are tweeting. Today Apple is doing great. Okay, buy it, right? Yeah. Not because there is a news, but it's just discussing about how the price is doing in that day.
Okay, so if it talks about the price and it's a good news about the price, then for us it's as good as there is a good news about the firm. So we don't capture the numbers. So if it talks about if it says something like the price is 10, then we don't capture this. 10 will not be captured. But if it says I don't know, jump in price soon, or let's say the return is good today, or the return has been good yesterday, that is some information that we take into account.
Great. And we have a question here. Yeah.
So how do you know that the tweets are tweets by and not a news?
Okay, so I mean, we don't know, but we don't care actually. So if it's a news or if it's a tweet of someone who is saying something bullish, then we consider the same, both as same. For us, both is good.
So have you looked at this and with additional controls in your regression? So if you adjust for other systematic shocks to the market, for example.
You mean here?
Yeah.
No. This we really wanted to be very naive. We just wanted to check the beta coefficient here. So we didn't want to put any control variable. We just want to show that if you only look at this polarity, then if you look at the contemporaneous return, then it's good because polarity is associated positively with it, but it does not help to predict next day returns. And actually, we could put any control variable you want. You wouldn't be able to have a positive coefficient in the second regression.
Right, okay. Because it could be that these people that are tweeting, right, they're looking at other market indicators that are actually faster, so they're responding to what they're seeing on those market indicators. So then these coefficients will go away if that would be the case, right?
Yes, but since we do daily stuff, it's not intraday, it's not intra-seconds, I don't think you would have any predictive power here.
And what about if you're looking at, instead of first moments, you look at second moments here, so you predict volatility or something like this. Have you looked at this as well here in this context?
So we didn't do that, but there are papers on this already. Yeah.
Okay, great. Let's thank Mark again.
Thank you.